Get it out of the way. Look out. Thank you. Whoa. Hey, hot mic. Glad I didn't say anything embarrassing. Okay.
Test, test, test. Everybody grab a sign. They're coming over here, being handed out.
Well, I mean, if you're on mute, then...
No! Well, I'm going to go off mute.
But then, how do they hear
All right. Trump, traitor, dictator, bye-bye, see you later. 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 All right, we got a new one.
Should I have camera on?
Heritage Foundation, a danger to the nation. 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 Heritage Foundation, a danger to democracy alive! No! Project 2025! Keep 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 democracy alive! No! Project 2025!
Welcome, everybody. You're a good-looking crowd. I'm Anne-Christine Tedeschi, and I'm the founder of Stop the Coup campaign, Stop the Coup 2025. Got to include that 2025. And I have a co-MC here. Unfortunately, Farig Gamina Toumbi could not come with us, who is the board member of Spaces in Action. But we do want to thank Spaces in Action for their powerful turnout here. And instead with me is Neil Barry with vocal, and also vocal is in the house. So we're going to say a few words here. I'm going to talk a little bit about this, and then we have a really wonderful roster of speakers, and they're going to talk to you about how Project 2025 actually affects you, affects them, affects the organizations, affects our communities, and what we can do to fight back. Before I get started, I want to point out that we have an audience that's on live stream, and we're welcoming them. We also have Spanish translation, so you can see here that you have, I think, on a website as well as what I'm holding up. If you need Spanish translation, si necesitas hablar en español, eso es la traducción. Okay? I also want to acknowledge and thank our interpreter today, who is with us to do ASL translation. Stop the Coup 2025 is a nonpartisan, nonprofit grassroots campaign to fight Project 2025, which is the Conservative Party's manifesto to retake power and dismantle our American system of government and our democracy. And it is led by the folks in that building, the Heritage Foundation. I want to welcome all of you, including those of you watching on live stream, to the official launch of our campaign to defend our democracy and to sound the alarm for the rest of America and the world. We are very grateful you've come out on this very beautiful Saturday afternoon to help us, to raise your voices. We need to tell others quickly that there is a major threat on the horizon called Project 2025. And it deeply threatens our country, and we need everyone to prepare and fight against it. We need you, and we welcome you. Before we begin our program and we hear from the speakers, we wanted to acknowledge and thank our allies and our co-sponsors, the Center for Public Democracy and Rise and Resist, two groups who have been so active since Trump's election and then Trump's loss, to counter the hatred and the rhetoric of the far right and the extremist wing of the Republican Party known as the GOP, which is behind Project 2025. We're very grateful to our allies, Las Doñas from New York and Vocal, and the Human Rights Campaign, which continues to provide national leadership on LGBTQ issues and rights. And we are delighted to welcome the local DC band and protest party, Too Much Talent. Because we know the famous saying, if I can't dance, it's not my revolution. We definitely need a soundtrack for our spirited movement to uplift our spirits as we move to defend our democracy and say no to day one dictatorship. That is the theme of our rally and our speak out today. We are saying no to day one dictatorship. We are saying no to the Republican Party's manifesto for power, Project 2025.
No! 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 No!
So why are we here? Why are we here? We're here because the Republican Party plan called Project 2025, which is known as their election year mandate for leadership, has a goal of turning the United States into a Christian conservative autocracy. That's authoritarianism. In truth, though, this is not about any individual candidate. This is the Republican Party platform. It was put together by 75 conservative groups backed by $22 million of Koch family money, and the Heritage Foundation is leading the plan. It's not, like I said, about Trump, although he is their favorite candidate. And he has shown that he's all in on the plan. But so are the other GOP candidates. All right? It is led by the extremist wing. And I think it's important for us to say we know a lot of Republicans who would definitely not agree with what is in Project 2025. However, the extremist wing is speaking for the Republican Party, and they are backing this plan. Who is behind Project 2025? Well, we've mentioned the Heritage Foundation, but it's also Trump's hatchet men. Steve Bannon and Steve Miller and many former Trump officials who held high positions in the Trump administration who now want to be in power again. This plan, which is almost 900 pages long, covers 30 departments of government, and it is written by the people who are in those positions of power under Trump, in the 1 or the 2 or the 3 position. They've been in those positions, they know what's in their departments, and they know how they want to take it all apart. They also include lawyers. This is a very lawyer-driven plan. Nothing against lawyers, some of them are my friends, but these lawyers, they're aligned with the conservative legal groups, the Federalist Society, and the Federalist Society isn't even considered radical enough for the people behind Project 2025. These are the lawyers who have been behind overturning Roe, the anti-gay bills. Stephen Miller wrote the plan that put all those children and families in detention centers when Trump was there at the border. All right? And the anti-climate administration and lawsuits. So don't be fooled. This is the Republican plan for taking control in America. And it calls for a de facto dictatorship, which America has never known. We have never seen this. This is new for all of us. In fact, the vision is a little bit more of what we would consider an oligarchy, right? In which a small group of people have written a methodical plan to hijack the reins of government. So they have a radical plan. They have a 180-day playbook to systematically dismantle the structures and the hierarchy of decision-making in all 30 departments of government, department by department. They lay out the plan to rewrite the rules by They call for the reversal or elimination or the reshuffling of key departments of government. So we're talking about things like, I'd like to get rid of the Department of Public Education. Agenda. Administratively and organizing it and recruiting people to make it happen. That's why we are here today. We are here to declare the Heritage Foundation a hazardous foundation. To declare it and Project 2025 toxic and very dangerous for America and our democracy and the world. This is not just aimed at the United States. This aims at changing U.S. foreign policy and programs which impact the world. You can find the whole Project 2025 plan on the Heritage Foundation's website, and you can read it for yourself. But trust me, not many people are going to read 900 pages. The Conservative Party counts on that, and they have buried, right, many insidious proposals in the fine print of that plan. We read it, and you can find a breakdown of that plan in little 3-page summaries, bullet by bullet, just what they're planning, on our website, which is www.stopthecoup2025.org. one little section for every chapter of government. Whatever you are focused on, whatever area matters to you, go check it out, read about it, and then you're going to see how it personally impacts you. What's amazing in some ways about Project 2025, it's so extreme that we don't even have to exaggerate its contents or even editorialize. We just broke it down to tell you what they plan. Right? So all we're doing even today is we're turning a mirror, right, on the Heritage Foundation, on Project 25, to let people know about how grave a threat this is. Project 2025 was released a few months ago, but what we found is that many people don't know about it, including many progressives and many community-based organizations. I was talking to people yesterday in the State Department, the Department of Interior. They hadn't heard about it. We have an enormous amount of work to do to tell people in our own government, as well as in the progressive movement and the Democrats, and many Republicans who really would not be down with this program, even though they may have certain ideology that they vote Republican. It's important for you, I think, to know that Project 2025 is modeled after the ideas and plans of Hungary's dictator, Viktor Orban. The authors of Project 2025 mentioned that several times, and Trump has mentioned his admiration for Orban. In fact, after January 6th and the failed attempt, right, to overtake our capital, and after Trump's loss of the election to Biden, some key people in the GOP and Trump's orbit went to Hungary last spring to study and learn how did they do that? How did they disassemble their democracy and put in place an extremist family values agenda? They were schooled in it by the officials in the Orban administration. They want to put in place an anti-choice, anti-diversity, anti-gender agenda, what they call the cultural wars, right? And they came back and they wrote their version of the program, of that plan, which is Project 2025. Project 2025 has a lot of ideas in it, and it is pushed by Christian conservatives, so the religious piece is actually very central. But the big idea is to give the next GOP president unprecedented supreme powers, in which that person, that president, whether it's Trump or another candidate, can come into office on day one and with a big sheaf of executive orders sign them and allow for major changes to happen in every department of government. Is it legal? They hope it will be. Do they expect to be challenged? Yes. That's why they're recruiting 5,000 lawyers to come in and be ready for every challenge that happens. Their goal is to methodically destroy the administrative state, and they're not shy about saying it. This plan calls for erasing many fundamental rights, including freedom of speech, public education, women's right to reproductive services, student loans for youth, federal support for single mothers and children, including food and health care programs for people living in poverty, right? We're talking about really big reforms and caps on Medicaid and Medicare and food stamps and WIC. It's an anti-poverty plan. It attacks people who are living in poverty. It also calls for firing, starting on day one, January 20, 2025, some 50,000 federal workers, all these folks over here, and replacing them with 20,000 conservative loyalists. That's their Christian army that they hope will help to revise the rules. In fact, they're recruiting people to say, the one criteria we want from you is to be able to help rewrite policy. It calls for a complete erasure of all LGBTQ protections in federal policies and rules. It calls for reversing or erasing racial equality gains, all the DEI. You've been hearing about it. We're seeing it every week. They're already doing it. It wants to erase environmental protections, completely with executive orders and others, remove all the Biden climate change policies. It's very dangerous to our world and our country. It calls for deregulation, which is an old conservative idea, right? Shifting power from government to the private sector and removing the safety rules for food labeling, for water, land, and industry. They want to give industry the right to voluntarily tell us what's in food or what's in the things they make. And we know exactly what's going to happen if they're given that right. It's not going to be safe for us.
That ain't right.
Stop the war on the poor. 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 Stop the war on the poor.
Now, there's another thing that's really important. I've talked about foreign policy because we got to talk about it. Project 2025 calls for radically changing U.S. foreign policy and foreign aid, which means drastic changes. For example, a reversal of historic deterrence in missile defense and our nuclear policies. Project 2025 threatens our global security. So, as I think I've laid out to you, Project 2024, as I think of it, is an equal opportunity attack plan. It has something for everyone. And that's why it's so personal to every single person in America. And we need to let people know about this plan, right? Our campaign is also an equal opportunity campaign. We're going for the big tent, right? Our platform is very simple. We believe in the Constitution and the fundamental freedoms that make our Bill of Rights. And we believe in pluralism and the separation of church and state. And if you agree with those ideas, then welcome aboard. We have 8 months until the November election, and we need to reach a lot of Americans and a lot of people about this, with this message. So this is what we call our Plan A, and I'm just going to wrap up in a minute, but I want to say there's another part of this, and I really need you to listen here. This is what we call the Plan B. It's very important. This election race is tight, and we need to plan for the possibility of a GOP victory. If it happens, and this plan goes through, we are all facing major losses and reversals. And our communities are not ready. So if you're listening or you're watching on live stream, and you work in an organization or a church, right, or a school, wherever you are, look at this plan, figure out how it's going to impact you, and what are you going to do if you lose your rights or your programs or your funding for that program? We need to prepare, right? We need to learn the lessons from Roe, which we lost because we didn't think we were going to lose it on the progressive side. Or the backlash, like Don't Say Gay in Florida, right? They would like to have a federal Don't Say Gay. They want to remove gay marriage and gay adoption and all the rights that we have won. All right. So we need to learn to survive. America has never, ever had an autocracy. We've never lived under this. We've got a lot of work to do. But I do want to say something here. There is a lot we can do. We know a lot. We have a lot of successes. Even in these past years, a lot of things have been done. We know how to fight library bans. We know how to do anti-choice bills. We know how to fight them. So we need to get that information, bring it forward, and share it. And on our website, we're going to do as much of that as we can. And we are really inviting our allies to bring forward the tactics that have worked, the field-tested strategies. All right, so let's bring them forward. And let's stay united, because I want to say one last thing. The main goal of an autocracy, which Trump has taken a chapter from, and so have the other GOP rulers, is you try to divide people, right? And what you do here is you figure out how to do it. You make one person the enemy. So you also try to call to question doubt about the institutions. So in our case, it's government, it's media, my goodness, it's the librarians, it's the school board people. You make those people be questionable and suspect, and you say how those people are hurting the ordinary people that you're hoping will vote for you. That is the plan of an autocracy. And you also really question the media, which Trump has been doing a lot with his fake news thing for years. Why? Because you need to control the public message. Project 2025 has a whole lot about getting rid of the media, particularly the progressive media. So we are hoping and we are calling on the media now to really get this message across and to understand how this impacts everyone. We welcome you to our campaign.
Fight, fight! Fight, fight! They're coming for your rights! Fight, fight! They're coming for your rights! Fight, fight! They're coming for your rights! Fight, fight!
Brandon Wolf.
They're coming for your rights!
You want me to say something first?
Fight! They're coming for your rights! Fight, 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 fight! They're coming for your rights!
Hello, everyone. When democracy is under attack, what do we do? What does this look like? Democracy look like. what democracy looks like. I'm glad to see each and every one of you. I want to thank AC over here for this. I mean, this presentation was awesome. A lot of history means we got a lot of work to do, right? All of us. We are all under attack. Okay? Let's get to work. My name is Neil Berry. I'm from VOCAL, which is an acronym for VOCAL, which stands for Voices of Community Activists and Leaders. We are a grassroots organization statewide, and we have a city platform. VOCAL! 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 Listen, this Stop 25, I'm just so happy to be part of this. I got on board this morning, to be honest with you, but I'm so glad to be here. I'm glad to see every one of you. I know that being under attack as a black man in America, I gotta know what's being under attack. So I gotta thank you guys for being out supporting us. We're gonna keep it real today. We're gonna keep it tough, but we're gonna keep it real. All right, we're going to keep it authentic, too, because we're not out here like the Heritage Foundation putting out false data, misinformation, and disinformation. All right? So we're going to do our thing today, but we don't got to do a lot of talking, not me. I got some great speakers. I want to bring them all up. Brandon Wolf first, and he's the National Press Secretary of the Human Rights Campaign.
What's up, DC? Well, thank you to AC, thank you to Neil, thank you everyone for being here and being on high alert. As mentioned, my name is Brandon Wolf. My pronouns are he, him. I'm the National Press Secretary at the Human Rights Campaign. I am a queer black man in America, and I'm here because our freedoms are under siege. Across this country, a network of right-wing organizations, influencers, power peddlers, and politicians are waging a decades-long assault on basic freedoms. And yes, they mask their intentions with coded language and confirmation bias. They promise us they're just looking out for the children. But their goals have never been more clear. They want to replace the will of the American people with a series of right-wing mandates. They want to use government to dictate what you can read, what you can learn, what health care you can access, who you can love, and yes, who you can be.
That ain't right! That ain't right!
You see, for people like the Heritage Foundation, freedom is conditional. Freedom is a hollow slogan to slap on a bumper sticker, but at its core, it's to be contained and controlled, divvied out to people that they see as worthy.
Say that!
And for large swaths of American history, LGBTQ plus people just like me have been the proxy for that fight over freedom. Because you see, here is the scary truth for the Heritage Foundation and other right-wing organizations. Our existence as queer people, my very existence, is liberation. Our existence is liberation from the confines of a regressive gender ideology that tells you that boys like blue and girls like pink. My existence is liberation from expectations and mandates that are old and out of touch. Our existence is liberation from the patriarchy, from the idea that there's only one right way to be, and that liberation terrifies the Heritage Foundation and their allies. In the last few years, we've witnessed an escalation in the assaults on LGBTQ plus people across this country.
That ain't right!
It's backlash. It's backlash against progress we fought hard for. We fought hard to change hearts and minds, to say love is love, to demand action on the HIV and AIDS crisis, to say that trans lives matter.
Say that! Yes! All lives matter! Not going back!
And that backlash, in their desperate attempt to control us, has used state and local governments as a weapon. Last year set a record. Over 500 anti-LGBTQ plus bills were filed in state houses across this country. Over 80 of them were signed into law. And I regret to inform you that this year is on track to break that record. We are tracking over 325 anti-LGBTQ plus bills filed, and it's not even February yet. That war on freedom has precipitated a state of emergency for queer people across this country. I'll tell you, I just moved to D.C. 5 months ago after living in Florida for 15 years. The people that I saw forced to leave their family homes, the places they knew for decades, even generations, in search of the basics, like somewhere to fill their prescription or send their kids to read the right books. Those people were living in a true state of emergency. The people setting up GoFundMe campaigns to get on a plane and fly to the nearest state so that they could get access to the health care they need. They are in a real state of emergency. But you see, the right wing, their lust for control, that's just not enough. The legislative attacks are not enough. They understand that if they're going to remake this country in their image, then they have to dismantle the systems of government itself and install a machine that is beholden only to them. They have to find a way to shut themselves off from the will of the people, to inoculate themselves from our democracy itself. That is Project 2025. And it will have devastating consequences for so many people across this country. We've seen slivers of it tested in states like Florida and Texas. We've watched right-wing governors take apart their state agencies, install their own acolytes, threaten those appointees that if they do not do their will, they will be fired and replaced with someone who will. And what has happened? Thousands of people displaced, families upended, lives torn apart, all in service to this lust for power and control. You see, again, freedom is nothing but a slogan for them. In a Project 2025 America, you are free. Free to do as you're told, free to read what you're told, free to access the health care you're told, free to be who you are told to be. And so, this country faces a really clear choice. Are we going to fight for freedom? Are we going to demand that freedom is an unconditional value worth defending? Or are we going to hand the keys of government to a right-wing cabal hell-bent on using it against the very people they were elected to serve? I said this choice is clear because it is. And that's why the Human Rights Campaign is so proud to stand in partnership with all of you, in coalition with all of you. We have real work to do. We have real work to do to warn people about what's coming. It's not just about Donald Trump or Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis. This is about a decades-long attempt to hijack the American government and turn it into a Christian nationalist experiment. We have to educate people. And then we have to mobilize our communities. The next event, we need double this. The event after that, we need double that. The next event after that, I want thousands of people in the street demanding an American government that reflects the will of the people, not a handful or the few. I am proud to stand in coalition and partnership with all of you, and I am committed to standing arm in arm with you all the way through November and beyond to fight for freedom and the American democracy we deserve. Thank you.
Let's give a hand to Brandon once more time. You know, Vocal, its theme is about compassion, care, and love. Can't we spread a little love around here? Just say to the next person next to you, share some love right around here. Share some love. That's what we do. We compassion and care. Because Vocal's fighting on many fronts. We're fighting for homelessness. We're fighting for HIV, drug use. We're fighting for housing. And we're fighting for mass incarceration. I happen to be, and these are directly impacted people. So let's show some love out here. We're going to bring our next speaker up, Mr. Marcus Batchelor, from the National Political Director, People of the American Way.
All right, let me hear y'all make some noise. Let me hear all the freedom fighters in the house make some noise. Let me hear all the democracy defenders make some noise. One more time for the pissed off people pushing for progress. Let me hear you make some noise. I see Heritage is getting some new construction done. They must not know we're about to put them out of business. So I'm Marcus Batchelor. I have the pleasure of serving as National Political Director for People for the American Way. We are a national organization, a coalition of clergy, of young elected leaders, of organizers, of activists who look like and come from all 50 states, the District of Columbia. I'm a DC native, y'all. Welcome to DC. And we are here, and we have been here for the last 40 years fighting against what the Heritage Foundation is trying to culminate in 2025. We're here today because we know that coups just don't happen with bombs and guns. That coups can be committed by pen and paper. Coups can be committed at the ballot. Coups can be committed by seemingly democratic processes. Coups can be achieved by ambivalence, by apathy, by lack of caring for our fellow man. And so we're here to tell folks who are planning on that, who are counting on our divisions, who are counting on us not to pay attention, who are counting on January 6th just being a dress rehearsal for what they want to do, that we're not going to take it laying down. That every single day until Election Day, and every single day after, we're going to continue to show up. We'll continue to come to their front doors. But not only that, we'll continue to organize our neighbors and register them to vote and elect leaders at the state and local level to beat back against these attacks, to pass legislation that affirms who all of us are, that affirms our freedom, that affirms our desire for liberty, that affirms our diversity, but also affirms our unity as a country where all of us deserve to be equal and free and treated fairly and have systems that are just and treat us with compassion. That's what we're fighting for. But the Heritage Foundation, yeah, we can boo for that, knows that this is their moment, that they've spent decades working at the state and local level, working to stoke fear and division at the national level, to elect demagogues like Donald Trump who can carry their water. And they believe that if we drop the ball just one more time, like we did in 2016, if we allow them to gain the reins of power just one more time, that they can get it right. That all of those dress rehearsals, that their attempts to take over, that all of the things we've seen and were appalled by before, they said y'all ain't seen nothing yet. But we said y'all ain't seen nothing yet. So let's keep fighting, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go back home and organize our neighbors and register them to vote and run for office and educate people on the ways that these institutions, that these big bodies in big white buildings, what they're doing every day to undermine our voice and our vote, and will do to undermine permanently our democracy if we don't step up right now. So are you with me? Are y'all with me? Are we gonna go get it done? Are we gonna win? Are we gonna defeat Heritage? Are we gonna save our democracy? Are we gonna win in 2024? Are we gonna be one nation in 2025? All right, let's go get to work. Love y'all.
Thank you so much, Marcus. And thank you so much, Brandon. We're very, very honored today to welcome Clara Cortez, who is a member of Las Doñas. She's going to be speaking to us in Spanish. Espero que todo el mundo habla español aquí. And that for those of you who are on live stream, you can have this translated for you. But she's going to tell us, and we're really, really happy to see the Doñas Academy here. Welcome, Clara Cortez.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Clara Cortés y yo soy una miembro de las Doñas Academy y el centro de la democracia popular. Estoy aquí porque hemos escuchado el Plan 2025 del Partido Republicano. Es una amenaza para nuestra democracia. El plan propone cambiar nuestras políticas y leyes federales para limitar el periodismo público y los canales de medios, limitar nuestra libertad básica de expresión y censurar temas y acceso a Internet. Como mujer y como mujer latina inmigrante, del 2017 al 2020 fueron años difíciles, ya que vivimos en una presidencia donde el innombrable, yo quería no nombrarlo, pero es necesario que lo recordemos como lo que fue para nosotros, un desastre. Donald Trump nos hizo mucho daño a la comunidad inmigrante. Nos atacaba utilizando las mismas tácticas que el Plan 2025 propone establecer, utilizar los medios conservadores para implementar ideologías irracionales y muchas mentiras sobre nuestra comunidad. Los medios conservadores han tratado de dividirnos durante los últimos años, que quién debería recibir documentos o quién no. Que los que llevamos aquí 20 años aportando a este país, a los que apenas están entrando por la frontera. La realidad es que todo aquel que venga a este país a aportar debería tener una oportunidad. Yo llevo más de 20 años en este país y he luchado por más para que mi voz sea escuchada. No dejaré que Heritage Fundación y el Partido Republicano trate de limitar mi voz. Sé que juntos lucharemos para que este plan ridículo no se implemente. Es por eso que si puedes votar en las próximas elecciones, hazlo. No solo nuestra voz está en la línea, nuestros derechos reproductivos, nuestro derecho a la salud pública, nuestras escuelas y muchas cosas más que la comunidad nos merecemos. Y como decimos en las marchas, ¿se puede? ¡Sí se puede! ¡Sí se puede! ¡Sí se puede! ¡Se puede! No vamos a dejar que callen nuestras voces porque la libertad a la expresión es un derecho constitucional. ¿Se puede? ¡Sí se puede! ¡Sí se puede! ¡Sí se puede! ¡Sí se puede! Gracias.
Muchas gracias a Clara Cortés y las doñas. I'm going to speak in English just to say, for those of you who didn't speak Spanish, that Clara is talking about the impact that's going to have this Project 2025 on immigrants, as well as people who are seeking to come here for asylum. Project 2025 has an incredibly draconian, vicious attack planned on immigrants. And that's why Trump is using it. That's why they don't want to resolve the border right now, because it's a political issue, right? They want to put hundreds of thousands of people, I think it's 100,000 every week or something, into new mass detention camps. And they want to deport unaccompanied children back to countries. They want to get rid of domestic violence, for example, as grounds for asylum. They want to get rid of human trafficking as a grounds for asylum. They even want to go after workers who are on job sites, and they want to be able to have a much bigger police force, essentially putting together federal troops with Homeland Security and putting them into the biggest agency, the third biggest in the cabinet, and using those troops to be able to go in and not only seal the border, but go into job sites because they have a suspicion that maybe somebody doesn't have the right documents. Arrest, detain, deport. That is their agenda. And they're also going after people who maybe have their papers, they're not quite worked out. Maybe they're in between. They want to go after them. They even want to go back retroactively into the past and go after people. And they want to go after what's called the chain, right, of it's not chain of custody, the chain of immigration, right? So, you want to bring your family in? No. You have a gay partner? No. We got to really be clear about what this is. This is a white supremacy agenda. And they want to get rid of visas for agricultural workers. Well, you know what's going to happen? All those farmers who have trouble getting workers, they're not going to be very happy about this. So we need to tell them about this. This this is a very, very anti-immigrant, white supremacy agenda. And they're interested in having white people come over here, right? Some of them, if they're tech workers, maybe. So they want to make exceptions in these laws. So read the plan and talk about it. We need to organize and mobilize. And right now, we need to pass immigration reform, and we need to prevent the GOP from blocking this because they think it's the best way to divide America and get votes from the Republican side. I think it's time for some noise, right? A little noise.
One, two. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, hey, hey. Living too much Taliban. Let's have some fun. Come on. Y'all sing it with me one time. Hey. I feel like fogging it up. Feel like fogging it up. I feel like fogging it up. Feel like fogging it up. Hey, hey. I feel like fogging it up. Feel like fogging it up. I feel like fogging it up. Come on, man. Let's play it.
Always be with you. Always, always be.
Fantastic. Are you feeling it? I'm feeling it. We have a few more speakers, and I just want to say before we speak in the next little portion, I wanted to share with you something that was in the news a couple of days ago. So one of the people who's kind of in charge of this whole Heritage Foundation is their president. His name is Kevin Roberts, and I just thought I would share with you a little nugget, right? So you can really get a sense of the emotion that's behind this plan, Project 2025. Here's what he's got to say about Project 2025. He was asked a question by a journalist saying, Lulu Garcia-Navarro, who interviewed him, and said, what do you envision when you say, as you have said, that you want to destroy the administrative state? What does that mean? And here's what he has to say. I envision the destruction that I'm referring to, which I presume is the real focus of your question, as a political entity being significantly weakened. People will lose their jobs. Hopefully, their lives are able to flourish in spite of it. Buildings will be shut down. Hopefully, they can be repurposed for private industry. But the administrative state, most importantly, what we're trying to destroy is the political influence it has over individual American sovereignty. And the only way to do that, or one of the ways to do that, is to diminish the number of unelected bureaucrats who are wielding that power instead of Congress. All right. They want to destroy and dismantle. It's cruel. And we've got to call it out for what it is. It's an attack on American democracy. It's an attack on us. It's an attack on the American people, and it's an attack on the world, on our climate and our natural world.
And that ain't right.
And that ain't right. It's so very wrong. So, I want to welcome Asia Russell, who is the executive director of Health Gap. I'm going to talk a little bit about the foreign policy implications of Project 2025, among other things. Asia.
Russell, and I'm an AIDS activist, and I am here today because I am chilled by everything the experts who have spoken so far have shared. But I'm here today not just because I am scared, but because I am angry. Are you angry? I'm not angry because some bureaucrats might get fired. You see, the president of this organization speaks to NPR as if it's about privileged technocrats losing their jobs. That is a strategy. That's not what this is about. Who do you think built what he skillfully calls, as a propagandist, the administrative state? Who built that? You did! Everything people with HIV have fought for, disability rights activists have fought for, black radical activists have fought for, to win the dismantling of Jim Crow, to win equality at the voting booth, to win the Ryan White Care Act, to win the American with Disabilities Act, to win any shred that a government under a Democrat or a Republican would be accountable to people who are oppressed. That's what they call the administrative state. That is a lie. We built humanity and compassion in spite of what governments have wanted, not because of them. That is the reality of what they want to dismantle. On day one of the Trump administration, what they said was, we're moving too slowly. Why were they moving too slowly? Because there was a bulwark of people that are called Schedule F bureaucrats. Now, is anyone going to get angry because some well-paid people who live in Washington, D.C. get fired? No. We have to tell the truth about what it means to dismantle the administrative state. What does it mean? It means people with HIV will die without access to medicine. It means people who need abortions will die and will be criminalized because of the health care that is their right to seek. Now, why am I saying this? Because it's already taking place. We already see versions of the handbook playing out. Is that not so? So let's ignore the U.S. for one moment and think about what these white, cisgendered male, evangelical Christian fanatics are exporting beyond the United States, are exporting into sub-Saharan Africa. HealthGap fights for an end to the AIDS crisis and a defeat of pharmaceutical industry monopolies that stand in the way of access to life-saving treatment. And you know what? We depend on a robust so-called administrative state to save lives and make the government accountable to millions of people living with HIV around the world, to queer people who need science and human rights and protection from criminalization in order to live. That's the so-called administrative state. It didn't happen on its own. It happened because hundreds of thousands and actually millions of people with HIV around the world 25 years ago stood up and said that a new program had to be built by the Clinton administration in order to save the lives of people with HIV so that triple combination therapy could be extended to people in sub-Saharan Africa the same way that AIDS activists had fought for access to treatment for everyone in the United States. Now, that program is called PEPFAR, the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief. Guess what? For the first time in more than 20 years, the Heritage Foundation is standing in the way of that life-saving program. It saved 28 million lives since its creation, is blocking its reauthorization by Congress. Is it doing it because of evidence, because of truth, because of anything at all? It's doing it because of hate and a lust for power and a recognition that if they take power in 2024 on day one of the administration, PEPFAR will not just be dismantled as we know it, it will be weaponized to export Christian evangelical hate, as well as an expansion of what's known as the global gag rule, so that every single humanitarian intervention will only be available if grantees that seek those funds take a loyalty oath and pledge that they won't use any of their money to even talk about abortion. That is completely unacceptable. And more than that, it will completely stand in the way of any effort to extend life-saving services to comrades around the world who are waiting in line for access to treatment, for decriminalization, colonial era criminalization laws that need to be taken down across East and Southern Africa, across Eastern Europe. That's what they euphemistically term the administrative state. Now, we know today that the Biden administration is not standing up effectively to the Heritage Foundation. Now, let's be honest. Politicians on all sides of the political aisle and up and down the spectrum, they love power. That's the reality. So on its own, the Democrats are not going to wake up and fight back against this very clear project to build a fascist state, a white-controlled, cisgender-maled fascist state that weaponizes PEPFAR. Let's talk about what that means. So that means that instead of delivering condoms to people who need them, instead of delivering protection to queer young people who are struggling with their sexual orientation and gender identity, they've been very clear about what they will deliver. Bibles and conversion therapy. Conversion therapy, which is torture. They are happy to stand by. In Uganda, just 2 weeks ago, people were traveling across the border between Uganda and Kenya with lube and HIV test kits. They were detained on December 28th, kept in prison cells for 2 weeks and subjected to forced anal examination, which is torture. The Heritage Foundation supports this. They want PEPFAR to be transformed from a program where these faceless Schedule F bureaucrats, which he thinks are a problem, have actually made PEPFAR one of the only development programs that's actually worth fighting for. And that's exactly why we must fight back. This backlash didn't come from nowhere. And that's what we must take hope in. So what can you do? The backlash came because we were winning. The backlash came because we are a more diverse country, because we have immigration that's making us more powerful and more accountable and led by black and brown people. This backlash came because we are defeating HIV with human rights, with condoms, with access to comprehensive reproductive services, including abortion, including mifepristone and misoprostol, not just in the US, but in Uganda, because we are the majority. But I would demand that all of us talk about this as it actually is, because when we use the words of our oppressor, we lose. This program came about because we have power, because transgender people have the courage to lead us and be visible, because black people, immigrants, have the courage to lead us and to create DACA, which they are incensed by. They are incensed by. So how do we win? We fight for more, not in 2025, but now. We keep yelling because guess what? The Biden administration isn't fighting for PEPFAR with the fury and the power and the indignancy that is required. Ambassador John Nkengasong, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, and President Biden himself have not used every single breath to demand that this life-saving program be immediately reauthorized. So the reality is, we're not fucked. We have the power because we've shown we're powerful enough to provoke something as fascistic as Project 2025. But when the Democrats show that they're more willing to fight to aid and abet and bankroll a genocide that's already killed 25,000 people than to fight for a bipartisan program that saved 28 million lives in just 20 years of existence, pardon me if I'm a little skeptical about allowing Biden to defeat this project. We have to defeat it by waking up Joe Biden, by waking him up every single day. We can't just confront the Heritage Foundation and Trump and his henchmen. They're mafioso. It's a racket. We can't just confront them. We have to challenge President Biden. We have to challenge Democrats in Congress because they have the power now to defend and protect and expand the so-called administrative state. I actually call it a life-saving bulwark. They have to fight for it noon and night, or else we won't win. But finally, we can take hope that the only reason we're here today and the only reason we have something to defend is because of the vision and the success and the power of black trans women, of immigrants, of people with HIV, of freedom fighters across generations who built up what they are trying to defend. And we will not go back. 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 We will not go back.
That was powerful, Asia. We love you. That was very powerful. We got a great speaker coming up now from Vocal. His name is Reginald Brown.
Good evening, everyone. Before I introduce myself, I want to acknowledge that we're standing on the stolen land of the Piscataway Nation. This nation is built on racial capitalism. Stolen land built by free forced labor. And if you don't look at this country that way, you'll never understand what's going on. It's all about money. It's all about money. My name is Reginald Thomas Brown. My pronouns are they and their. I've been queer for as long as I can remember. I'm also the proud board president of Vocal New York. Vocal stands for Voices of Community Activists and Leaders. Our principal campaigns are to end the AIDS epidemic, homelessness, mass incarceration, and the war on drugs, which is actually a war on people who look like me. I am directly impacted by 3 of our campaigns. I was diagnosed HIV positive in 1986, 38 years ago this coming August, and because of what the speaker before me said, because of what they did, I'm here. Hello, because of what they did, I'm here. I was homeless for 8 years. I am a current drug user and a beneficiary of a harm reduction approach to drug use. I participated in an outpatient chemical dependency program for crack. All of our members are directly affected by this campaign. Our democracy is under attack, and the Project 2025 manifesto lays out exactly what we need to do to fight back against it. No one is immune to the GOP's tactics. If this transition moves forward, our country will be more fascist than ever before. Hardworking, honest servants will be replaced by those who embody the anti-democratic ideals of the Trump administration. Anyone who has been caught in our country's racist, sexist, or xenophobic systems will undoubtedly be worse off if this comes forward. We know the policy solutions that work for the majority of Americans. It is investing in housing, investing in services, and divesting from criminalization. When we invest in housing, we take care of people. When we invest in mental health, we take care of people. You know what we need to do? We need to embarrass their asses. We need to go find out where they live, where they go to church, who they hang around with, and bird dog their asses. Vocal, before I was a member of Vocal, went to the Department of Health house about 5 a.m. in the morning, and guess what they did? They held a very vocal action informing the neighbors of what their neighbor was doing. We need to let everybody know what these people are doing, because what they're doing is affecting everybody. I want to call out the harm and hurt and demand justice, compassion, and love. Our demands and policies are actually better, because they work to solve problems. Our policies help to house the homeless. In short, our demands aren't just grounded in justice, compassion, and love, but they're also effective. They work to solve problems. What these people are proposing will not only worsen things for everyone and make more homelessness, overdoses, and more general problems, except for the 1%. They'll get to do whatever the fuck they want. Well, to that I say, hell no. In fact, I say, hell to the fucking no. We need to meet them where they are. Hello? Hello? Oh, hello, how are you today? We have to do that. We have to embarrass them. They have to embarrass them. That work. That is a tactic. That is a tactic. Find out where they live. Find out where the office is. Go to their office. Get a couple of people. Just come and just stand there. Or if you want to be vocal, then make noise. But the point is, if we don't, we have to do this. When we disrupt business as usual, they pay attention. Money is their God. When you mess with their money, they will listen to you. All right, so what are we going to do? Shut it down. What are we going to do? And how are we going to do that? By what? Embarrassing their asses. Thank you.
Shut it down. Shut it down. Project 2025, shut it down. That's right. Nothing without us. Nothing about us without us. We have a wonderful speaker for you, and one or two folks left, and I want you to listen really attentively to what they have to say, because they have a lot of experience. And we really particularly want to welcome Jennifer Flynn Walker, who is the co-chief of actions for the Center for Popular Democracy, amazing activist, and has been a terrific support for this action today and for our launch of our campaign. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jennifer Flynn Walker. I'm the co-chief of the campaigns team at the Center for Popular Democracy. And we're a national network of the most badass community organizations located all across the country. And you know that saying, if they tell you who they are, believe them? Well, I'm going to tell you who the Heritage Foundation is, and actually all of the center-right and far-right advocacy organizations in this country. But first, I'm going to tell the Heritage Foundation who we are. We are the majority. There is a hell of a lot more of us than there are of them. Now, the Heritage Foundation has told us who they are. They have said that they are going to use a militarized army to round up immigrants in this country and arrest them, detain them in tents, in public, and make a spectacle of them in tents before they deport them. They have told us who they are, and so we need to believe them and fight back. They told us that they were going to criminalize and eradicate transgender folks. We need to believe them and fight back. They told us that they were going to not allow queer families to exist, that they were going to eradicate gay marriage and take away kids from gay parents. Believe them and fight back. They told us that they were going to take away housing. Believe them and fight back. They told us that they were going to take away the Department of Education and take away public education. Believe them and fight back. They told us that they were going to take away the Department of Justice so that they could not investigate when police shoot black folks in our country and hold our law enforcement accountable. Believe them and fight back. They told us that they were going to take away even our right to legislate locally. They were going to take away our sanctuary cities because they were going to have our local law enforcement directly report to the president. Believe them, believe this, and fight back. Because when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Thank you.
I love it. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Loving it. As you can see, I love comparing passion. I want to bring up our next, Jessie Daniels. Jessie's PhD, a professional writer, and the author of Nice White Ladies. Let's give Jess a hand.
Hey y'all, it's great to be here. My name is Jessie Daniels. I'm a writer and a professor and an activist, and I study white supremacy. And I want to talk to you about this sign today and tell you how the Heritage Foundation is part of a white supremacist agenda. We're living in authoritarian times in which the easy thing to do is to retreat into numbness, either through substances or through Netflix and chill, pick your poison. But those of us who are awake and can see know what's happening. Alongside the strong men who want to destroy all of us are the nice white ladies who help them implement their fascist regimes here and around the world. In the U.S., white women make up a majority of those who vote. White women are a majority of voters for the GOP. Let me say it again. White women vote for the GOP in the majority, and they have for decades. That's the pattern. And white women are at the vanguard of bringing the Heritage Foundation's misbegotten agenda to the world, like Sharon Slater, who leads the dangerous Family Watch International. In Uganda, after Slater met with the Prime Minister's wife, the next day, the Ugandan government installed anti-LGBT legislation. Heritage Foundation's Project 2025 is a hologram. It's a fantasy steeped in the hallucination of whiteness that obscures the very real way that their sad, binary gender regime upholds white supremacy. Let's be clear about what Heritage Foundation's vision is for all of us. It's a gender regime that works in service of a eugenicist, white supremacist goal. Under their white supremacist gender regime, those of us who are women, femmes, and anyone with a uterus are only useful as long as we're making babies. Anyone that's male or considered able-bodied enough for service is only useful as long as they are killing machines for the state. What the far right wants to do is to make us feel powerless and like their bleak vision is our inevitable future. But we are powerful beyond measure, and their imagined future is not ours, and it is most certainly not inevitable. We can resist, disrupt, and refuse to obey in a myriad of creative ways, from puppetry to performance art, from TikTok videos to digital wheat pasting. We will not go quietly into the future they have planned for us. Our acts of resistance to this grim far-right vision of how we express our gender and sexuality is how we find a path to our recovery of self and how we reaffirm our values of dignity, empathy, and solidarity. Our resistance to the far right's agenda here and is the same as the struggle in Uganda and the struggle in Palestine. These are not different struggles, but they're the same one. I want to offer a word of caution to all of us. We don't want to work so hard against one orange-tinted dictator only to open the door for a different blue-tinted dictator. Right now, something like 70% of young people ages 18 to 34 are not willing to vote blue because the U.S. is supporting an ongoing genocide in Palestine. I want so much more for us than this false choice. We deserve so much more than this, and we will get it. Thinking about how we win against the far right, I look to those co-strugglers who have won before, against the closet and the repression of McCarthyism, against the Briggs Initiative in California, against the APA's definition of us as sick, against the obstruction of the FDA during the AIDS pandemic. I can think of no other group of people that I would rather struggle alongside of than a bunch of dykes and drag queens, trans folks in the legacy of Sylvia Rivera and Marsha Payet Norman Johnson, and all you fabulous queer folks, Chingonas, black folks, immigrants, and indigenous folks here today. We will win against the far right because we must. It's movement time.
We have our last speaker coming up, but before that, I think we have to put our hands together and give a real recognition to our amazing signer, John Harvey. Fantastic. It's my real pleasure to introduce Jay Walker, JW. The W is very important. It means wise. J.W. Walker, who is a co-founder of Rise and Resist and is a team member on Stop the Coup 2025. He's going to wrap it up for us. And what I just want to say before we go is that we're starting this campaign today. And I hope you're all with us. It means it's your campaign. Can't do it without you. We all got to be here. We got to double ourselves. We got to leave here and we have to clone ourselves. 10 people, 100 people. We need a lot of people in a very short period of time to be talking about this. Bring forward your message, bring forward your wisdom, and bring forward, as Jen has said, the winning, which we will do. JW.
All right, let's give it up for AC. All right, who called us all together. I met AC in October of 2023. She showed up at a panel discussion that I was a part of about activism, particularly about Urvashi Vaid. If you don't know who she is, look her up, VAID, and asked a question about what the folks in that room were doing about Project 2025. And I had heard about it a little bit, but I hadn't really paid it very much attention. And she put my focus on it, and it chilled me to the bone. I stand here before you as a black man. I stand before you as a man with indigenous ancestry. I stand before you as a queer man, a gay man, as an HIV positive man. I stand before you as a gun violence prevention activist. I stand before you as a member of the resistance to Donald Trump. I stand before you as an abolitionist, and a queer abolitionist at that. And I have to tell you that what Project 2025 represents is an attack on every single American who cannot fit into the very, very narrow box of straight, white, cisgender, evangelical Christian billionaire. I can't top what the other folks who have been here have said. They've said it all. You've heard it all. The most important thing that we have to take out of this moment is a conviction and a determination to build this movement and build it rapidly. We don't have until November. We have until like June. Okay? We have a mass media, a mainstream media that has essentially ignored this fundamental threat to the democracy and to the ideals that this country has always failed to live up to. We have just a few months. We have to wake this country up to make them realize the threat that the Heritage Foundation poses to the vast majority of the people in this country. I mean, just to top it off, every woman of childbearing age right off the top, because reproductive choice will be off the table if any Republican gets into office and the Heritage Foundation has control over them, which is a given. And then you expand that to every person who is black or brown. You expand it to every person who is not straight. You expand it to every person who is gender non-conforming. And you are seeing a larger and larger share of the population of this country. Every immigrant to this land, and this land that was built on immigration largely, you know, after the land theft. I mean, obviously, the land theft came first, and the forced slave labor that came first. But the only thing that allowed this country to succeed after the enslavement that the founders enmeshed in the Constitution when this country was founded, the only thing that allowed this country to succeed was immigration. Immigration is in the fundamental DNA of this country. It is what keeps this country going. Standing up against orthodoxy is what has gotten every single right that anyone has ever demanded put into place, because people stand against the tyranny that periodically tries to install itself in our government. This Project 2025 is the worst example of that kind of authoritarian tyranny that crops up every now and then. And if it is allowed to take hold, we will lose our democracy. We will lose our right to vote. We will go back to white male landowners being the only people who are going to be able to determine the future of this country and its electoral prospects. We cannot let it happen. We have to stand tall. We have to stand against the Heritage Foundation. We have to stand against the American Enterprise Institute. We have to stand against the Federalist Society. We have to stand against every single one of those organizations that are trying to overturn the will of the people with every paper they write, with every conference they put on, with every word that they project into the dialogue, the political dialogue of this country. And I know that every single one of you is going to stand against that and fight it with everything you have in your heart, in your soul, and in your mind. So what I'm going to say is, we've been across the street from Old Massa. I'm going to say we're going to cross the street with our signs, with our banners. We are going to take a little stroll past the belly of the beast. Jen is going to lead the way. We're going to lead with our Stop Project 2025 banner.
Why don't we address the people who
They're about to start marching.
do like a shame?
Oh, and say hello to the people that are filming us from the rooftop. Let them know we're coming. We see you. You can film us all you want. We're not like your Patreon front motherfuckers that have to wear masks everywhere they go. You can take all the pictures you want of us, Heritage Foundation. We are proud of what we are doing. Let's march!
Sí, sí, sí.